Nissan Rogue transmission swap, part 4. We got the old transmission on the ground here. The torque converter just kind of fell out, but that makes it easier to balance on the ground. And we still have to get this transfer case off. Now, we got all the bolts out, but it's still on there pretty tight. And just visual inspection, we have 2 dowel holes. There's one here and one down here that the steel dowel kind of corrodes in place and expands and seizes itself in the aluminum housing, and that kind of makes it a pain. Looking at the new unit, just lining up the holes, I can see the dowel hole down here, so we do have to transfer these locating pins, but up here I don't see anything at all in terms of a dowel point. I don't know why there is a pin in here or not, but if we just pry on this ear a little bit, we can see a gap, and on top here it's not really being held in. So there is no real good point to pry at this thing. So I'm just going to use a plastic faced hammer and kind of hit right here and see if this transfer case separates from our transmission. Alright, let's give her a whack. See if anything comes out. I can kind of see a gap. I think it's getting bigger. Right there, you can see it. So we'll just keep whacking it. That sounds good, right? Yeah. Alright, I think we should be getting there. The gap is definitely growing. So I'm going to put a block of wood under the transfer case, so when it does decide to come off, it will be cause any damage. There we go. I don't know if I should use a different hammer, but it's going little by little. Yep. Almost there. Almost there. Okay, now it's actually moving. You're still in the shot here. It should separate pretty soon. There we go. There it is. Ah, well, that's neat. So indeed, there's only one locating pin, and you can see the corrosion on there. That's what was holding us back. It came out of the CVT housing right out of here. No big deal. So this is the transfer case. You turn this, that shaft turns. That's it. It's just kind of a 90-degree unit, and I don't know if there's like a viscous coupling in here, or it should be just a direct connection in the transmission. So this might be the kind of like the center differential. So we got that out, and now we're ready to either install the new transmission separately and then put this on later, or we can put this on, install this on the new transmission and then put the whole assembly up. It kind of depends. We want this to be as light as possible for easy maneuvering, and I think then we'll attach the transfer case. So new transmission, let's get it out of the box. This one seems to be packaged a lot better than the first one that we got.
Yeah, that sucks for them, man.
It's not tipped over, right?
Probably a lot of money.
Beautiful.
That'd be interesting. Like, how would you end up with that job?
What job?
Like repairing old transmissions for Nissan.
I think they just send it back to wherever. I don't know if they have a separate remanufacturing center in the States or if they send it back to Japan. So I just want to note the part numbers here, just compared to the old one for reference. There's that, and here is the original. Let's see, focus it on. There, R417972315. And this one, it seems like an earlier model, 1XT9D, and this one's a 3X. So maybe they upgraded something. 3UX2D. In any case, we have to get this thing on our floor jack and wheel it over under the vehicle. Well, maybe you should read this. I don't know. So torque converter is on, held on by this bracket. Now I think the best thing to do is leave this on until we're almost in place, and then just pop this one bolt out, take this retainer off, because, well, with the old transmission, I had it out here, I was done for the day, I changed into my sandals, and it kind of tipped, and the torque converter fell on my foot, and that kind of hurt. So these things, they're not really held in by anything, they just slide right off, and they're heavy. So we'll leave this on while we're jacking the transmission up, and that should be a little more manageable. Because if this thing starts to slide out while we're halfway up, that's not going to be a good situation. So this thing is actually already semi pre-filled. You can see the fluid level right down in there. We can get a light in there. Let's see. See that gear is submerged in green transmission fluid. So I guess I don't know if it's partially filled or filled all the way, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'll keep this on here for now. We'll keep all the plugs in place and then take them off as we install the various components. So here comes the fun part. Let's get a floor jack here and try to slide this guy over and then go from there. So there's not much prep work to be done before bolting up this new tranny, but we do have to clean out this center locating hole for the torque converter, because remember the old one was a little rusty and sticky, so just a little emery cloth, get the rest of the rust residue out, and then we'll just give it a shot of fluid film, blow the junk out of there. Okay, just a quick little, that should work just fine. Now my friend Pat's going to help me move this transmission over to the jack, and we'll get it centered up and make sure it's balanced before rolling it under the vehicle. Set the camera up here and try to do that.
Ready now?
Yeah, we'll just start shimmying it over. Yeah, lift it up a bit. Oh, there we go. Yep. Good. Got it. Can we get the plastic out of the way? Perfect. We'll get the cardboard box out of the way.
Yeah, let's move all of this. Get it out of here.
Yeah. Okay. Now, balance this guy a little bit better. Okay, that's good.
And then if you want to, do you want to drive the jack or hold it steady?
Yep, I'm just thinking, so it wants to tip this way a little bit, not bad. Make sure this block of wood is centered more or less, that looks good. The side to side it's steady, front to back, pretty steady.
Yeah, as long as I hold the weight toward you, it should be alright.
This side, I got just want to get close to the car. Good. I'm going to start lifting it just a little bit.
Okay. It's leaning way back though.
It's alright.
I kind of want to move this wood base back though, because it's not sitting on much any wood.
Well, it has to be centered over the jack. So just hold it right there. Yep.
Okay.
Right there. Is that a little better? Alright, so game plan is to start lifting it. Pat's just going to stabilize the rear end right there so it doesn't tip backwards. And then we'll take off this torque converter safety bracket right before we bolt it onto the engine. So here it goes. Looking good?
Yeah. I think we're going to have to move the whole thing forward a little bit.
Yep, just a little bit. Good so far?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going to take this bolt out of here. Boom. So, and what's in the top? Make sure it's pretty lined up. It actually looks decent. I keep going up a little bit.
You have to come forward again.
Yep. Ever so slightly. Good?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Right there.
Ooh.
That looks good.
Okay.
And now, gotta get this converter bolt. Hold it steady, Pat.
I'm trying.
Right there. That stud on the converter, we have to line up with that hole in the drive plate. I'll lower you guys a little bit here. Let's see what's going on. So looks like we're pretty centered. We just have to go up another few inches. And yeah. So make sure your torque converter is turned this way so the stud is pretty much in line with that drive plate hole.
Wait, you're hitting something. There we go.
Steady. Okay. Alright guys, so now that we're lined up and we're aiming this dowel right here for the hole, and you can see the gap on the bottom is wider than the gap at the top. That's because our engine is still kind of down. So now we have to raise up both the engine and the transmission at the same time, and they should mate up pretty smoothly like that. Okay. Really close. Now we could try to thread a bolt in there. I think the dowel is basically finding its home right there. That looks good. And make sure the torque converter stud, yep, that is starting to poke through. Excellent. So I think all we need is one little jiggle and this thing will pop together. So I'm going to take Pat's place here and try to jiggle it in place.
All right. It's steady, it's stable.
Yep.
Ready?
Does the gap look like it's closing? I can't tell. I just located the dowel now.
Yeah, it's closing.
Okay, so there.
You could probably fit a bolt into there now.
Close the rest of the gap. Make sure our torque converter bolt's good. Actually, the stud's poking through nicely. Very good. Okay, we're basically there. Let's pop a bolt in so it doesn't separate. Again, just hand thread it in there, and it should be in good shape. So if you're lined up correctly, the bolts should just thread in by hand. Now we're not going to pull it together just yet. We want to make sure that the other side is all lined up, so we can get a bolt. I guess another one of these big ones come under the vehicle.
I'm going to set up the air wrench.
So let's see, before snugging up the bolts, let me do one more little jiggle here. Looks good. No, not the big one. Get the little orange one. Yeah, we're very, very close. Air hose. Just go on this guy right here. Okay, let's do the other one. So a little issue here. That gap. We tried drawing it in the transmission, but it feels like it's spring-loaded, and it's not supposed to be. Now, I've run into this issue before in other vehicles, where the torque converter has to sit all the way in because there's splines in the actual pump. So I put this bracket on, the one that it came with, and with this torque converter all the way in, there's actually a pretty sizable gap right here. So what happened was, originally on that new transmission, the torque converter actually slid out like this. The bracket's still holding it on, and then turned. And now, that's the way it came. So it's kind of like flopping around in there. So what we need to do is take that thing back off, turn it so the torque converter is like into the splines, and we can even measure, these studs are supposed to be inset into the transmission. So they could have made this little bracket a little bit better so it pushed the converter in all the way and it wouldn't like come out from the splines and kind of flop around. But that's okay. So let's lower it back down. Okay, so we got the transmission lowered just enough so I can put my hand on here and push this converter back into place. And indeed, it wasn't lined up on the splines, and it went in another half an inch, which is exactly what we needed. And now it's not wobbling anymore. So you want to double check that before putting this thing up in the air. Now we're gonna jack it back up slowly.
Remember, we're gonna have to come in toward the car a little bit too.
Like that?
Yep, you're doing well. It's going smoothly. You might want to check the upper ones because I can't line it up there.
Yep.
But you're clear.
I'm just looking at the dowel hole. Okay, so relocating the torque converter definitely did the trick. We're basically completely flush, and what you want to check is when you turn the crankshaft, you should hear a ring. And that's the torque converter and the drive plate, going against each other. So there's no pressure between them right now because the torque converter is all the way into the transmission, and we are in great shape. So all we have to do now is bolt up, put in a couple bolts, put the top mount on the transmission, and the rest is just reassembly. So let's pop these top mount bolts in. Now if you remember, when we took out this shouldered bolt goes right on top of the transmission, right in here, and that should line up with the hole right there. Now you can see that we're not quite even there, so we might have to pull back on the jacks, and the whole assembly should shift back.
Yeah, it does.
They should be pretty close to at least start threading it in. Now again, we should lift up so it's flush before we put the bolt in. So both jacks.
Stop that. A little forward now.
We're super close, right?
Yeah. It's gonna go forward like a 1/4 inch.
Just a little forward?
Yep. Stop. Just a little bit. Yeah, we can wiggle it probably from there.
Okay, this bolt's happy.
Should be happy.
That bolt's happy. We want happy bolts. That guy looks like he's going in. And last but not least, once we get these in, then we're basically home free. We can get rid of those jacks. The whole assembly will swing free. Uh-oh. So don't tighten the bolts until they're all. So maybe tighten the big one first. That kind of locates them out. Okay. Now, all the other ones should go in very easily. I think we're good there. Now I should be able to at least move this jack out of the way. We'll put a few more bolts in the bell housing, and yeah, then we just have to hope and pray that this new transmission works out of the box. Now we're going to pop our transfer case back in. I did clean up that stubborn dowel pin, put some fluid film on it. This should help it not corrode further. I have the bolts ready. They are a 16 millimeter, so this thing isn't too heavy, but we should still take care. What's the path of least resistance here? I don't want to damage the seal. And see, the drive shaft is kind of hanging out. Let's see you guys up right here. What are we looking at? There we go. That's what we want to see. So you really do have to get under the vehicle, line this thing up. So this shaft is kind of long and in the way, so maybe we can get it in right here first, and then pivot the whole assembly to where it wants to be. Finally, just sweet. That's how I like things to go together, nice and smooth. So let's run some bolts in. Couple of these guys started here. So it's five bolts all together. And these guys are from the back side. Okay, perfect. So then we'll just snug these down. And I don't know how much more of the reassembly process I want to record. It's all just bolting stuff back together. Maybe putting that subframe assembly back up. That'll be kind of interesting, but otherwise we should be wrapped up here shortly. One thing I just discovered is putting in this drive shaft. I thought I was going to have to lift the rear wheel to turn it, to line it up with the transfer case here. But actually you can spin the shaft as much as you want because the viscous coupling is way back there by the rear diff. I just thought that might be a useful tip. So now we have the transfer case bolted up, the drive shaft's installed, and the starter is in place. Very straightforward. Now let's put these torque converter nuts back on. There's a stud. I looked up the torque spec is 38 foot-pounds. Let's just use a speed driver, speed up the process. There. And we'll first install the nuts, rotate the crankshaft around, and then torque them to spec. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in projects like this that take, 1 or 2 days, it's always you're always nervous. Is this thing going to work? I hope they did a good job on the reman process, and this thing will last another 100,000 miles. But who knows, right? You always have that unsure feeling that all your work's only gonna be good for I don't know, until the warranty expires. The 1 year, 12,000 mile warranty. I don't know why it's so short, because the original transmission was, I think, had a 10-year, 120,000 mile extended warranty. I guess they do that so people buy the car, and when it breaks, then I guess they want you to just throw it away and get a new one. Just get the torque wrench out. So this actually works out pretty nicely. The socket rests against the case or the engine block, and all we need to do is wait for the click. That one's done. Make sure you do all 4. That's 1. There's the second one right there. Good. There's number 3. Good. Last but not least, number 4. Alrighty, happy with that. And then we'll put this little cover back in place here. That's just 2 small 10mm bolts that hold that back on. So you can place bets right now. How long is the new transmission going to last? And maybe this time we'll do fluid changes every 60,000 miles or something. And I don't know if this car will live that long. I mean, it's only a 2010. It's not that old. But in this day and age of disposable vehicles, that's considered pretty old, huh? Snug those guys down. That's it for the torque converter. So I think the next step is the drive axle here with that huge bracket, and then the exhaust pipe. We'll bolt that back on, and I think the subframe comes next. All right, now it's time to get this huge drive axle assembly in place. So there's the where it goes into the tranny, and there's our knuckle. So I have one bolt here in a socket. We're gonna try to get this assembly up, and at the same time thread the bolt into place. Oh man, this thing is pretty heavy. And also take this plastic baggie off. There we go. Almost feels like lifting weights here, you know. Get this up. This should line up. Let's see. Now remember, don't put any undue stress on anything, because get the splines in there. And that one bolt that didn't come out is being a little pain right now. Okay, perfect. That's lining up very nicely. Now I just want to thread one of these bolts in the transfer case for that huge bracket, at least so we have some support. That looks excellent. And now we can kind of fine position this piece and try threading that little bolt in there. Start threading this guy in here. We'll hang the drive axle up with a little bungee hook. Ooh. So I got that attached right there. So far reassembly seems to be going a little more straightforward than disassembly, since we know what order we took the parts out and what order they're supposed to go back in. That one bolt though, right by the axle, might be a little painful to reinstall. Yep. I'm looking forward to some chicken wings and beer this afternoon after getting this job squared away. And then tomorrow, Monday, call the dealership and see if we can get this thing reflashed, and cross your fingers that it'll fire up. So we'll keep plugging away here. Next shot will be, put on this exhaust pipe and get this cross member back into place. So I was thinking, before putting that cross member back up, what else is easier right now with it out of the way? And obviously we should hook up these cooler lines and the wiring harness while we have this amazing access down below. So I have already installed the that cooler pipe. This guy right here, there's 2 bolts, and then I have this hose pinched off, and that's still capped. The new cooler is capped. So what I want to do is take this line off, quickly swap this guy over to here, and this will go where the cap is. So hopefully we won't lose too much fluid here. Let's try to make this quick and painless. So we'll unhook this guy, move the clamp out of the way here. So quick swap-a-roo of the hoses. If we drip a little bit, I'm not too worried about it. That's it. Good. Now before it fills up. Sweet. That's all we needed. Now just make sure you put the hose clamps in their favorite home position. This is almost fun when you're getting, at least closer to the end. It's more satisfying putting stuff back together than ripping it apart for no good reason. Well, I guess, if it breaks, if it's broken, it's got to be fixed. There we go. Beautiful. Looks good. Looking good. Now the wiring harness. This whole gaggle. So that wants to go down, down, down. Down there. This will go in order. Transmission range sensor. You guys can't even see that. That green plug right there. Pop that on. And then, okay, that goes right in here. Awesome. And then, if I remember right, we had multiple points of, actually this goes on that side of the cooler pipe. On the inside, thread that through. Okay, great. And just let that drop down. Gonna let it find its happy spot, and I'm gonna plug her in from the bottom. Alright, let's get these clippies back in place. That's the one there. Okay, goes in here. It goes in here. Awesome. So this connector here is going to blow all the crud out of it. And then the company sent me this deoxit chemical cleaner, electrical cleaner stuff. Now, I know a lot of people have commented in my videos that where I use WD-40 for electrical connections. Have you tried deoxit? Well, let's try deoxit. So directions say, what do the directions say? Turn off equipment, spray it on, wait a few seconds, reapply, and you can follow up with other products, but I think in this case we're just gonna give it a little burst, and that should protect all of our connections right here. We'll just briefly blow that out. And we'll just plug her in, and should be okay. Now this thing is directional, so it goes there. Then we try to turn this ring. Remember, the little tab needs to be engaged, and that is it. Okay, that connector I guess is just in there and wobbles a little bit. And there's a circlip that holds it into the transmission body, but that's tight. Excellent. And now I think we can do the subframe. One quick thing I forgot, let's bolt on this main ground strap. 16 millimeter. Everything's either 16 or 13 here, which is, I don't know. If you're used to it, I guess it's okay. Excellent. And we might as well attach the shift linkage right now and tighten down the pinch bolt here. More nuts and more bolts. Pat's trying to figure out his rattles and his speakers over there. Turn up that music, Pat. It was good. Nice.
With this, and then do the same thing on both sides.
Yep.
So this means that it comes.
Well, the main thing is that the steering shaft goes through the boot first.
Well, what I can do is I can
just guide it.
I can get it in there.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'll line this up.
Okay.
Do you want to clean this off or anything?
No.
Okay.
All right. So 2 floor jacks. Here we go.
It needs to come toward me. A lot more toward me. Touching over there. This has to come.
So is it going in?
This has to come toward me a little bit. Anyway.
Well, yeah, just pull and push whatever.
Yeah, I mean the steering comes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Keep going up.
Does anything need to line up here?
No, don't worry about that.
Oh yeah, because we can just pull it down afterward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, keep going up.
Is it going in the boot yet?
Yeah, it's going in the boot just fine.
Okay.
Is there another thing that needs to hit inside of the boot, or as long as in the threaded in the boot, it's good?
As long as it goes in the hole.
Okay, that's close.
Yeah, that's looking pretty good, huh? And this is all lined up. What are you wiggling over there? Is that good enough?
The bottom of this, yeah. We should go look at the other side.
It's like almost exactly where it needs to be. That's close. Yeah, I think that guy's right in. Yeah. Oh, I see. So that just needs a little tap.
Yeah.
That rubber thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Oh, we pinched our stabilizer bar link in here, so we can always lower down a tad. Make sure nothing's caught. And this guy will need to go up there, so
It's loose on
this side of the drive axle, this side of the ABS wire, and find its happy spot right up there. So let that hang out. Lift this back up. What about the other side there? Did it get pinched?
No, it's good.
Oh, okay.
Then we have to line up that. I guess that
kind of goes up here. Kind of goes up here. Right up there, yep. Sweet. And this guy is pretty much lined up with that. Mm-hmm. And we just need a little tap on the... I think that's it. Perfect, right? Did our boot do its job? I guess. Alright, well now we just have to put in the bolts and make sure the steering shaft came up through like it's supposed to. Yeah, that looks decent. Very awesome. Alright, let's torque these subframe bolts to more or less factory spec. Put some fluid film on them so they go in easier. Oh, that one's not going in too easy, huh? Put this guy in first. Now we got the subframe securely bolted in place. Gotta get this stabilizer bolted to our transmission. But as you can see, the bolts don't quite line up with the holes. So all we have to do here is pivot the whole engine transmission assembly backwards. And to do that, you just kind of do a pull up like that, and the whole assembly swings forward. And you just put in a bolt, and hopefully the threads will catch on here. Start threading it by hand, and that looks very good. Same with this guy. Alright, we're in good shape. Buzz these in. Perfect. Don't forget your exhaust hanger. Screw these guys. That worked out pretty well. It's kind of nice working on a newer vehicle because, as you can see, the rust has not gotten too bad, and all the fasteners came out without too much fuss. We'll get these guys torqued down, and I think we're pretty much done under here. Then we just need to assemble our, axles and ball joint and all the links over there on both sides. Put in our fancy battery tray, and I don't know if this thing will move under its own power, or if we'll have to tow it to the dealership to get the new transmission flashed. Alright, slam this axle back in here and get this transmission or suspension buttoned up. Hopefully this circlip will find its happy place in there. There you go. Beautiful. Just like we like it to go in. Now, the axle here. Let's see the knuckle. Swing out of the way. Put this guy back in here in the splines. Okay, cool. Now before we put that ball joint back in, let's put a little fluid film on her. Let's see, all around here in the hole. Nice. Now we just kind of wiggle it in. It's gonna be nice. You just use a little plastic hammer action. Hopefully no slide hammer required here. Nice. You just want to make sure it goes in far enough that you have a clear shot through. It looks like it went just right. So here's our, sometimes I like to just push everything with fluid film for future ease of reassembly. Now the bolt went in from the front side, right? You guys remember? Sometimes I watch my own videos just to remember how I took stuff apart. Oh, look at that. It just wants to go back together. This car wants to go back on the road. That's awesome. Don't forget about our little ABS wire here. Okay. Touch that guy there. Start that, so that's good. let's get out here with the air wrench. Let's tighten this guy on first. Now these are again interesting sizes. This little guy, pop that guy in here. Now we're gonna have to use our jack trick again to hold this up, and then our stabilizer bar link right up here. That is a 19 for sure, and this guy is an 18, I think. There. Again, fluid film everything. Top tool wrenches, highly recommended. The long reach ones are fantastic. Let's see here. Stuff goes together very, very nicely when it's lubricated. Alright, let's get buzz down this tie rod end and our axle nut. Alright, so we got a little jack pressure on there, and this guy with a little help from Nano should buzz right down single-handedly. Like it. Release the jack. Now we need the big gun for the big nut. .32 millimeter. That's all we need. We put our semi-functional cotter pin through here, and we'll crimp it shut, and then we just need to take care of the brake rotor. Alright, let's douche this down with more fluid film, the good stuff. That rotor came right off. I put these on, probably a couple years ago, and they still look in decent shape. I mean, this car's been standing outside waiting for that transmission, so they're a little rusty. But now we take our caliper, swing her down, spread the pads, and slap her on. There we go. Big bolts in the back. Awesome. So this side is complete. Other side should hopefully go just as smoothly, and then we just have little details like plastic shielding and battery tray. We're almost there. Now guys, the right side went together also very smoothly. Make sure the wheels are in the straight ahead position. I guess we can bolt the steering rack down, but right now I wanted to put in this dipstick and see how much fluid we have in the new transmission. Because like I said, it was partially filled, which is nice. So here's our dipstick, and we take this little plugger out. There you go. And pop this guy in. That's right where it wants to be, right there. Whoa. This camera stuff. Setting a tripod inside an engine bay is sometimes a little tricky, but do our best. Let's see right there. Yep. Buzz that down and take a look. Hey, the wheels are back on. Hooray! Let's lower this beast down and wrap it up top. Alright, there, you can get it. Thank you, Pat. It's nice to have an assistant once in a while. Fine jack control right here. Before we forget, you gotta torque these wheels down. In my experience, with aluminum wheels, sometimes the impact is not very accurate, especially if you have two sockets, because these are like aftermarket wheels, so the torque doesn't get through, you know, both sockets. We're gonna torque these to, let's see, 85 foot-pounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm kind of excited, kind of nervous. Now we'll finish up putting the fancy battery tray in and this air pipe. Man, the car seems so much slower now.